Hi, I am Steven. This is my reflective presentation of my current photographic practice. This presentation examines the motivations and objectives behind my work to date. I was born into a family made up of engineers and businessmen. Photography as a career is something that is unthinkable in my conservative family. I joined the photography club in my school and I met my mentor in photography. Under his mentorship, I grew quickly to excel in the craft of photography and began to win international photography awards at a young age. I went on to complete my bachelor in engineering, followed by a master's in business administration. I set up Photo Vivo and Asia Photographers Union, where we organize international photography competitions, exhibitions, photo tours, and courses. My foundation in photography was set in pictorialism. My mentor was very strict with me in the fundamentals of photography. Many hours were spent with him commenting on my photographs and the art of cropping. Having a good mentor is very important in one's progress as a photographer. The following images are examples of my foundation works in pictorial photography shot on film. Diagonal lines and pattern were used to compose the image. Slow shutter speed was used to render the people in motion blur. Appreciation of light and shadow was often used in my shooting. Rembrandt lighting for portrait was deeply etched in my mind. To create such a dreaming effect, I had to use a soft filter. I prefer a soft look to this image of the sleeping flamingos. Flirting with the peacock was the only way to make it open up its marvelous feathers. I was fascinated by the lines and patterns shown on this beautiful bird. This image titled Light Up is one of my favorite. It shows an interplay of lines and space, of light and shadow. I began to switch to digital photography in 1998 using digital camera for my shooting and software for the touch-up. I had two solo exhibitions in year 2003, namely Imagery of the Trusting Heart and The Reflections in the Bamboo Grove. Imagery of the Trusting Heart emphasized on dualism, the opposite of things, the bright against the dark, the real against the unreal, the yin and the yang. It took me more than 2 months to create this series of 20 works. Being a close friend of the model, I forgot about the model release. We managed to work out the necessary arrangements before the launch of the exhibition. Concurrently, I also worked on another series in 2003, The Reflections in the Bamboo Grove. This series of images was created for the publication of my first book of the same title, a fusion between photography and the ancient Sun Tzu art of war. Pictorialism played a heavy role in these two series of works. Emphasis on the aesthetic part in photography was shown, which I called the beautiful side in photography. This photograph, titled Chrysalis, shows the ever-changing nature of all things around us. Just like the ever-changing moon, nothing is permanent. The dualism in photography shown here featured one of my favorite nude models who committed suicide due to depression. She appeared in many of my other works as we worked well together as a team. 20 of the better works were selected for this formal presentation, which I used for the submission for the Fellowship of the Royal Photographic Society. At that time, at age 23, I was one of the youngest, if not the youngest, fellow of RPS. My next series of digital art started in 2012, the Urban Apsara series, which is based on the urban feminine figure set against an ancient world. I have plans to rework on this series in the near future, now in the planning process. There are 3 other people who have influenced me in photography, other than my mentor. I have a fascination for Baroque era paintings, and those by Dutch painter Rembrandt inspired me deeply. His use of rich tones and contrasts drew the viewer to the subject, and the shadowy areas fill up the edges. This was one of his most popular masterpieces, The Night Watch. Rembrandt was known to have experimented with various styles, but his approach used remained consistent, a unique signature of his own. Rembrandt lighting exhibited in this painting, with shadowy areas filling up the edges. Sebastião Salgado is a legendary photographer whose approach to his subject and the angle used inspired me. Pictorialism is exhibited in some of his most famous works, the use of hard and soft, light and shadow, space and lines. This is a case of how pictorialism can be used as a style or approach in different specializations in photography, something which I'd like to do further research in. Simplicity combined with the use of space and forms work very well in creating this image. Next is China movie director Zhang Yimou. He majored in photography from Beijing Film Academy and created many award-winning movies. One can see well-executed setup which appeals to the eyes. Use of design elements and creation of mood help in building the aesthetic of his works. This visually provoking scene with the use of lines and space to add to the artistic value of the movie. Moving on, I shall talk about my current practice. I have been practicing travel photography for more than 14 years, mainly in Asia, shooting for magazines. Pictorialism plays a key role in my travel photography. Editors who engage me know about my style in travel photography. Travel photography as a profession brought me to exotic places off the beaten track. Every travel assignment would take from 4 to 11 days. Even though the editors have a list of content for me to photograph, I was blessed that they gave me much freedom in my angles and approach. Travel photography as a profession requires much research to be done ahead of the trip in order not to miss anything important. The time of the day, the season of the year, coupled with getting a good local guide will make or break the assignment. The photographs were used for the cover page and the inserts. Over the years, I learned to shoot more and provide more options for the editors to choose from. Silk Wings is the official in-flight magazine of Silk Air Airlines which flies in Asia. One of my most unforgettable engagements was a contract with MediaCorp Channel News Asia to photograph a documentary story in India. The title is Delhi the Dump, touching upon environmental and social issues pertaining to the pollution and living conditions in Delhi. This was the first time I worked alongside a video team which comprised the cameraman, the lightman, and the sound crew. This proved to be one of the most challenging assignments of my photography career. Child labor is a frequent sight. For once, being in such close proximity with them for many days, I learned the many real-life aspects of photojournalism. What is the truth and untruth? While the pen is mightier than the sword, the image can be as mighty as the pen. We had to be very careful in our job and not draw the attention of the authorities. This assignment allowed me to see the good and bad side of life, of how things could go ugly and very bad and possibly out of control. This was also the last of such assignment. I had 2 weeks of sick leave from blood poisoning, likely due to exposure to the dump and the pollution. My venture into wedding photography was a result of my network of resources in a few countries gained from my travel photography assignments. I do pre-wedding photography, where I shoot for couples for their wedding portfolio. The places which I have shot for my travel photography assignments provided me with many angles for the couples. My niche is in Bali, Indonesia. This is a good place for the honeymoon and also for a good pre-wedding shoot. Pictorialism plays a role in my approach in wedding photography. Use of space and perspective alongside a happy couple can be seen in most of the works. What I want to create here is a unique style in wedding photography, where pictorialism as a style enables me to create works that the couple feel happy with. I have to understand the couple well in order to bring out their best during the shooting sessions. I also like to bring them into a fantasy world. The pictures put into an album which they will treasure for many years to come. My proposed research project is pictorialism in social media. My plan is to investigate the type of images that appeal to viewers in social media, and whether the use of pictorialism style is applied or can be applied in other specializations. I will develop and test several hypotheses. The findings of correlation analysis with the SPS software will be useful in contributing to the photo imaging industry. I hope you enjoy my presentation.